Speaking of Kane and Brooklyn and Busta, what did you think about that Kane, Busta, and Conway song?
I
Did you see the
loved it.
video?
No, I didn't see the video.
I
I did
watched
hear
the
the record. The
video.
record's pretty dope. What do you think?
I think it's dope. It's dope to hear those guys together. This is what I'm gonna say about Busta Rhymes, man. And you know me, I was a Busta Rhymes fan, like heavy. And I see his style has evolved. Even ELE 2 is kind of like a different Busta than what we're used to hearing. And obviously he's a super veteran at this point. He's not rah rah Busta anymore. But me personally, and again, this is kind of like Kanye saying what he said on on last call when he was like, me personally, I wanted the interest. I didn't want the introspective Jay, but what am I gonna tell him? Whatever. But anyway, I'm not a super big fan of the street rap style Busta Rhymes. You know what I mean? Like the Busta I like is more of the everything remains raw Busta, and I don't even want to take it back there. That's not fair. But if I were to take it to um, tear the roof off Busta. That's the Busta I'm a
That's
fan of.
that. I was actually in my head, Mike. I was like, well, I think the Busta Rhymes you're talking about is the "Give Me Some More, Tear the Roof Off" Busta,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That's your Busta. No, that's my Busta Rhymes too. But here's something that I'm just kind of learning. And my cousin Six used to tell me this all the time. He's like, you got to give these cats room to be different, though, Coop.
You're
Like
right.
he
You're
used to
right.
always tell me that. He's like, Coop, you got to give these cats room to be different. He was like, stop. He's like, let them flex different, like outside of their zone. Because here's the reality of the matter. It's like, look at it like this. Like Hakeem had the dream shake. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But he didn't go down to the court and use the dream shake every single time to get a bucket because he was as talented as he was, there was different ways for him to get a bucket, even though it wasn't as tantalizing or awe-inspiring as the dream shake. You feel what I'm saying?
Right.
Every point Kareem got didn't come from a sky hook. Every point MJ scored didn't come from a fadeaway or a dunk. You know what I mean? And so I try to learn to look at it from that perspective. So although I don't love that Buster Rhymes like you, Mike, I'll say that guy is like a 18 to 20 point a game scorer as opposed to the guy that we know that goes and gets you 25 when he's on his give me some more tear the roof off. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I mean, he's a dope MC when he's doing what
Right.
he's
He's
doing on
dope. He's
this
an all-star
record.
MC still, but he's not that dude.
It's not. And again, who am I to say what's really Busta Rhymes? It doesn't feel like Busta Rhymes to me. It feels like another rapper, and I think that that's one of the things that made him stand out was the fact that he was so different from everybody. Like, imagine if Old Dirty was out here in 2022 rapping like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's cool, but you did something that nobody else could do when you were doing it. Now you're rapping kind of like everybody else. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, you and I talked about this before. Some of that is just the artist pressure from having to play the front. Because here's the thing. Prime Buster doesn't have to do that because, well, that's Prime Buster. Prime Buster gets to do what he wants. That's what all NBA or all rap performer, like first, second, or third team, is supposed to do. So it's like, well, you look at him in his prime. Well, Mike, is he like a first, second, or third team MC as in the top 15 in his prime? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're that type of player, well, you get to just play your game. But as you get older, you start having to adjust and
Mm-hmm.
find your niches and your moments and pick and choose your spot and learn how to adjust the way the game goes and evolves, a la a Carmelo Anthony.
Yeah.
Like, that's not Melo's game that we just saw the last 2, 3 years. He had to make that his game to stay alive in the game.
Now I'm gonna be fair. I know if Busta Rhymes was out here rapping like he was rapping in '98, it probably wouldn't translate in 2022. I get that, and he might look, a little odd at 50 rapping like that. I get that, but it's
Right.
hard to let go, man. You know what I'm saying? When you know that
Yeah.
the person that you, the version of that person that you liked or was a fan of was a 10, but you're seeing more of a 6, 7 level now. It's kind of like I hate to say this because this always gets a negative connotation. Literally, like comparing Air Jordan, like 48-inch vertical Air Jordan from the free throw line, to Wizards Jordan, who wasn't a bad basketball player by no stretch of the imagination.
but that's what I mean. But okay, so let's look at that guy. It's like, well, that guy that you're talking about, like the Air Jordan guy, he could sneeze and go get 40.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? The guy in Washington is getting 20, like half, like 23 one season and then 20 the next season, right? So let's just break it in half, about 21, 22
or
a game.
something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Still
so
all-star numbers.
Right. That is all-star numbers. It's just, no, you remember the guy that could sneeze and get 40.
Yeah.
Sneeze. I chew. It's like, did he just get 40? It's like, yeah, he got 40.
He was jumping over people.
Yeah, jumping over people. Did a couple alley-oops, did a couple behind-the-spin moves, had 7 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 blocks, 2 steals.
I like the song, though. I don't want that to get lost in the shuffle. I like the fact that Kane closed it. Kane's very strong right now. Conway was on his shit. And I like Kane's closing line, man. Like, you know, who you think I am? DJ Cassidy?
You want to know what?
Like, DJ Cassidy?
The thing I realized in the Brooklyn Queens thing is that, you know, Kane's aura looms so large, and I really, really wish that there were some more songs to match it. You know what I'm saying?
I think
because
I
feel like if Kane would have gotten more run, if the game would have been different, because I feel like he would have thrived in like Biggie and Jay's climate the same way they did. You feel me?
The game had changed so much, and I mean,
I feel like he would have thrived in that climate, though. Like that mid-'90s climate, I feel like he would have thrived in that climate even more than the climate that he was in. But I think he also helped create that climate. But I feel like he would have been around the people and been able to make more of the songs that would have registered like the way Big and Jay's songs register. Not just a few, not just like Raw and Half Stepping. And you know what I'm saying?
It's like this, man. I think that the skill is why he's held so high. And I think that they knew that was never a question. His skills translate in any era. We've seen that even with the Big L record and all that stuff, right? But the only thing with Kane and, like you said, the Biggie and I'll say the Biggie, Pac, Nas era, and that's slightly before Jay, what would the sound be? Because we saw the only person that was able to really, well, it was two people that were able to really transition out of the 80s. You had LL, who went super mainstream, and you had KRS, who went super underground. So where does that leave Kane?
One went really above ground, one went really below ground.
And so where does that leave Kane? Like, if you were to say, and you know, just hypothetically, in the mid-'90s, what record that, you know, big hip-hop record in hip-hop, what record would you say fits Kane's style the most? A Big Papa or something? You see him doing that, maybe?
To be honest with you, when I hear One More Chance, Mike, that's what I mean about having the right people around him and having the right things. Like when I hear One More Chance, that's Kane.
What do you think Diddy would have been able to do with Kane? I think that's
what I'm saying. Like, give him a Jermaine Dupri or like a Diddy or somebody like that in his prime. Like, see, see, he's the guy of all the guys that would have thrived in that R&B hip hop mesh climate. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, look at what Big and Jay did. It's like, where do you think they got that shit from, Mike?
Yeah.
That's Kane.
He would have been able to make records
One More Chance
Mary.
and Can't You See? Like, I can hear Kane doing One More Chance and Can't You See? That's Kane. Yeah.
Matt Max with the super chat says Kodak might be the MVP of 2022. Highlights on K-Dot's album gave Diddy Diddy cosplaying Son a hit and Super Gremlin and dropped a good tape. He's my MVP favorite right now. We're going to talk about Kodak's album too. We liked it as well. And those are some very good points. What I was going to say about Kane, though, okay, we know stylistically he could do those. But when it came to like the rapid flow and the hardcore stuff, do you feel like he would be missing that part of his game doing, some of those R&B records and doing a One More Chance, or or Can't You See? Because
Didn't
I
you
know
just
he
hear
likes
him?
to flip it. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, but that's what I mean. That was always the thing about Kane, was Kane was the guy that was still rugged enough that he could go bar for bar, like on some street shit with a KRS or a Rakim or a G Rap, but could switch it up and do the other stuff. Like, to be honest with you, he could have had the career LL had, and had more of the lyrical respect. Like, he could have made Mr. Smith, Mike. Like, how about this?
Now
Like,
that I will give you, he
imagine
could.
him
Yeah,
doing the I Shot You remix and his finish after he's hearing all those guys rap. You feel me?
that is a legitimate statement right there.
Imagine,
Damn.
give him the track masters for an album the way that LL got the track masters in '95 for an album. Hey Lover, Mike,
Hey, lover. Yeah.
Loungin', I Shot You remix. You can't hear Kane doing
I
those
can hear
records.
Kane
That's what
doing
I'm saying.
all of
It's
those.
Kane.
I can hear Kane doing all of those records.
It's Kane.
I mean, I can hear Kane, and I've told you this before, and I say this respectfully. Around the Way Girl sounds so much like Kane to me. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
And Jingling Baby remix so much like Kane. But yeah, I never thought about the Mr. Smith side of it. What about doing it? You hear
That's what
Kane
I'm
on that
saying. That's
too?
like nothing. Nothing. That's what I'm saying. These records that we're naming, that's not out of his pocket at all. Now, is it?
Not at all. And they worked in the 90s. They worked very well in the
That's
90s.
what I'm saying. What I'm saying, he would have thrived more in that climate than the climate that he was in. Because here's the thing about that climate: that climate allowed those guys to make those hardcore and those R&B records in a way that it got them massive followings. See, his problem was well, he had to out rap Cool G Rap and Rakim and KRS One and Slick Rick.
The other problem was, though, Coop, the radio wasn't there yet. You know what
That's
I'm
why he had to
saying?
out
Like,
rap these guys. That's what I'm saying.
yeah.
It was the goal.
And
So
he was the
he's the
more
guy.
radio ready guy than all of them.
Right.
Yeah.
He's more radio and street ready than LL is. He could have had LL's 90s career.
He really could have.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, because I can even hear him on the Flavor in Your Ear remix when I think
Four,
about it.
three, two, one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could definitely, like, if you're talking about pairing him up with anybody in the 90s from a production standpoint, you got a Diddy out there. You got Trackmasters out there. You got Easy Mo B out there to kind of give you a little bit of balance of both. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you're right. Eric Terrell with the super chat says, so y'all say Nas is the GOAT. I say Tupac. Who had a better group project? Thug Life, Outlaws versus The Firm, Bravehearts. I think that his group, I'm sorry, I think that's his group's name. Yeah, it's the Bravehearts. I'm going to have to say that the Thug Life album had more memorable moments.
You want to know what? But here's the thing about it, though. Nas has The Firm and Nas has QB's Finest, Mike. I told you I've been going back through QB's Finest.
You did say that. What did you find when you went back to QB's Finest?
No, let's talk about it, because what you really have is a highly, highly, highly slept on project. First of all, Mike, The Bridge 2001. Now, I want you to name me a borough up in New York that has a song that literally has their finest MCs on it, like this record does. Like, it's really from their hood, and the one invitee in, which is Prodigy. Nas is on this record, obviously. Like, Prodigy and Nas in the record. Before them, Capone and Tragedy are on the record. Havoc, Shan. Like, that alone, Mike.
Shan set it off.
Nature and Cormega are on the record together.
Yeah.
That's big. Mike, We Live This with Roxanne Shante and Havoc and Noid. Banger. Find Your Wealth by Nas.
Yep.
Find Your Wealth by Nas, Mike. That was one of the joints that was floating around on one of the I Am bootlegs.
I was
Yeah.
listening to Find Your Wealth the other day, actually.
Yeah. I mean, of course, Uchi Wally's on there, Mike. You know what I forgot is on there? And this might be my favorite Nature song, Fire, Mike.
I forgot
Remember
about
Nature's
that
record, Fire? That might be Nature's best song.
What y'all thinking
I
there?
know people think the ultimate high is, but Nature is 3 verses, and the hook by himself on Fire, and it's nasty, Mike. He's getting busy. No Help, No Nas on the hook, no none of that. It's nature getting busy. It's his best song.
Man, Max with the super chat says, "LOL, Kane a better lyricist than everybody from his era, not named Rakim, but I don't know if he would have had the LL '90s career. Kane is a precursor to Fab and Banks." Dumb It Down says,
No, he's
"Kane
better than
versus
that.
LL on a versus Monday."
First of all, we have a little Raekwon and Ghostface business to
Yeah.
get to, Mike.
Yeah, we got Raekwon and Ghost business.
I'm feeling like you're in trouble, Mike.
I'm feeling like I'm in trouble too. I'm kind of scared. I
Worried.
want to talk about Kane one more time though. I want to.
Hold on. Let me finish this
Go ahead.
Queensbridge Finest thing.
Uh-huh.
Because I haven't brought up the best record on there, Mike.
What's that?
And I realized something because I listened to it last night. Mike, Self-Conscious with Prodigy and Nas.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that record too. Yeah, I need to go back.
That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah.
Now here's what I'll tell you about that record that I realized. This was a Prodigy solo record that he didn't finish, that Nas came and sewed up. And Nas is the superior MC to Prodigy, always was. So when Nas does his thing and Prodigy does his thing, it's always going to be Nas. That's just the way it is. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
But Prodigy on this record, Mike, he's special. He talking to himself. It's really his record, and I can tell that Nas probably heard the recording of it and felt it. Like, oh no, I feel you. I got something to sew that up. Let me sew that up for you. And it feels like that. Go listen to the record, but it's masterful. They are masterful on there. It's the perfect concept record for Nas to come and finish up.
I mean, it gets no better than that. Smiles and Wave.
And Nas.
Right. Smiles and Wave with the super chat says, took off work for KD3, going to stream properly. Yes. You know, a lot of people were like, yo, you put me on the game. Shit, I was being put on the game. I didn't know that there was a proper way to stream to make sure.
Well, I mean, the way this earth to earth hustling works, Mike, is that, you take some shit out the ground and you help it grow, but you got to feed. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So it's like I'm just trying to pass the information along that was given to me. I learned some things too, because it's like I thought I knew how to stream and what affected streams, but it's like then I thought about it too. It's like, well, how much do I know? And so I've been doing my own personal digging. It's not like the information's not there. It's like it's right there.
Mad Max with the super chat says, I forgot G-Rap Kane. It says, LOL, I forgot G-Rap Kane, a better lyricist than everyone from his era except for G-Rap and Rakim. Let me show some respect. I heard G-Rap out-rap 38 Special. Yeah. It's 38 Speech. Yeah.
First of all, I mean, Kool G-Rap as a lyricist is probably only out-rapped on a consistent, lyrical bar level by, Nas, Black Thought, and Rakim. Just like those three, maybe a prime Big Pun. You feel what I'm saying? He's up there.
Yeah, from a lyrical standpoint.
But from a lyrical standpoint, he's nothing short of phenomenal. He's a 10 lyrically, Mike, without question, unequivocally.
We got to get back to our chart too. Unknown Name says Roxanne Shante got off on that track.
Yeah. We Live This. That's what I'm saying, Mike. There are bangers on there. I was like, why did this album not get no love? I was like, oh, right. Copy that.
Jay Short has something to say that I want to piggyback on. That's kind of where I was going. He said, I remember Kane's voice changing, hurt his flow. And I was going to ask you, why do you think Kane didn't continue to evolve in the way that you think he should have or could have in the 90s? Because he did put out a lot of records in the 90s that just didn't, connect.
I think it's hard to do it alone.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the short and the long of it. I think it's hard to do it alone. I think what you'll find about your biggest success stories, transferring from the street and the commercial viability, is that you'll find a team. You'll find a Bad Boy. You'll find a Rockefeller. You'll find a Death Row. You'll find a Dungeon Family. You feel what I'm saying? Like you'll find a Suave House. You'll find a Rap-A-Lot. You feel what I'm saying? It's like you're not just that. Like that dude got a team. I'm going to tell you one thing that I realized when we were doing our versus battle. Mike, you want to know why The Diary is Face's best album? Oh, the production level is so vastly superior to his first two solo projects.
Yeah.
The team got more money though, and the team is stronger, and the production's better, and they can do more. Like, remember, Mike, when I was playing the White Sheet, how it starts off? Like, think about it. Face does a verse, and then he goes into the whole hospital scene where he's like, that's stuff that they weren't doing on the first two albums. That's up in the ante on the production. That means you got a team behind you. This nigga ain't just rapping no more. He's giving you a very vivid imagery and a street tale. Team helping put that together.
Yeah. Dame with the super chat says, I've been in the Cool G Rap 456 bag the last couple of days. Album was fire. Great lyricist.
Yeah.
What I was going to say, though.
It's a Shame is one of my favorite rap records. All 456, the first single, It's a Shame. Oh, he is bananas on there.
Whew. Does gangsta rap have something to do with the fact that, it took a lot of MCs from the previous era off their square? Because it feels like and I don't want to say gangsta rap, the West Coast, when Dre and them came through, does that affect where Kane is going? Because, he did have that stint where he was kind of trying to do a little bit more hardcore stuff.
I mean, the West Coast definitely threw a wrench in everybody plans on the East Coast. There's no doubt about it.
Because it feels like when that happened, the only people that were able to move forward were the ones that kind of built after it. You know what I'm saying? Like when Nas dropped Illmatic, and obviously Ready to Die was highly influenced by what the West Coast was doing. And, by the time Jay came around, Death Row was kind of fizzling out a little bit.
The West Coast, how about this? The East Coast.
And then I can't forget Cube either, because Cube's a big factor in that from a solo tip, too. He dropped some pivotal shit.
He's actually the integral piece of it.
Yeah.
Like people need to understand this is that, like, okay, NWA and Dr. Dre needed to compete with Ice Cube after Ice Cube left. Right. So it's like, don't think that the Chronic and Niggas for Life, Mike, are not like Ice Cube competitive, like stature. Like, look at this dude who, he left and he's dropping classic stuff, getting his money, doing film. No. Don't think Dre's not seeing that when he's making Niggas for Life and the Chronic. Like, both of those projects. So Cube is integral even in the motivation behind NWA and Dre's departure post NWA into the Chronic. But what you really have, Mike, and I hate to say it like this, is like, well, they were making better material and it was shit that you could ride to on top of it. Like, let's just run down these albums right quick. And I want you to show me the East Coast albums that are better from that time. Straight Outta Compton, Niggas for Life, America's Most Wanted, Death Certificate, The Chronic, Doggy Style. Now, I just gave you 6 rap albums. Now, go and tell me the East Coast rap albums that are as good as that, and then tell me that they ride like that.
Tribe was the only one really competing in that way.
The Low End Theory?
Yeah.
I was thinking the Low End Theory.
And
I was thinking...
And from a solo aspect, it's kind of
I was thinking Let the Rhythm Hit 'Em was the only thing that I could think of, Mike.
Okay. I give you that.
Rakim's third joint, Within the Ghetto and Mahogany and all that.
Great record. And you know what? Right. Honestly, a lot of those songs don't get the appreciation they should because of how hard the West Coast was coming with.
That's what I'm saying. They had it on lock, so people forget how great Let the Rhythm Hit 'Em was. I think Let the Rhythm Hit 'Em is the one that has No Omega on there too, Mike.
That's what I'm saying. No Omega on there. The song Let the Rhythm Hit 'Em itself, brutal.
Let the Rhythm Hit 'Em is epic, Mike. That's some of his best bar work.
Yeah, shit's crazy.
That shit crazy.
But even when you think about that era, even LL Cool J, as great as he is, and he's known for his longevity, that was a cold period for him. So I have to think that the West Coast had something to do with that.
Like, no disrespect to Mama Said Knock You Out, but Mama Said Knock You Out is not on the level of those 6 West Coast albums that I just named.
Not as a collective album, but it had the hits on it. It did.
It had the hits on there, but no, as an album, that's not, like, Mama Said Knock You Out is not in the same category as a rap album as Niggas for Life, Straight Outta Compton, America's Most, Death Certificate, The Chronic, Doggy Style.
It's not.
No.
It's not.
That's what I mean. They were making better albums and shit that you could ride to. The only album that came out in like that 4-year gap that the East Coast really had that they could hold on to that was like that was Let the Rhythm Hit 'Em in the Low End Theory.
And we can't forget the DLC. That shit was rocking too.
I mean, and this is what I mean when I'm saying had it like that. It's like, no, no, no. I know Cool G Rap made two projects around that time that are classic. It's not on this level, and you can't ride to it like that. You feel me?
Yeah, Melvin Wright with the super chat says, "I think the Roots of Evil is G Rap's best album. Very slept
What, the
on.
'98 joint?
Maybe not a variety of subjects, but lyrically, it's ridiculous."
Roots of Evil lyrically is ridiculous. I felt like it was too long even when it came out. I got an advanced copy of Roots of Evil when I worked at Manifest. I remember. Yeah.
Jay Short with the super chat says, "Mike, Snoop Dogg and his flow and vibe ended people's prime. He reset the game. Even Cube switched up producers on The Predator." It's a very good point. Because Snoop changed the whole mood of everything and the approach to a record. And as you say that Snoop is hip hop's first superstar. I say LL Cool J. I understand where you're coming from with it, but with that being true, if what you're saying is being true, he stepped the level up for what rappers could do, and everybody else kind of had to follow that if you were going to be the man.
See, this is what I mean. Okay, so Snoop is kind of very much like Dr. J. Like, no, there were stars before Dr. J. You feel what I'm saying? But there wasn't anybody really that played ball before Dr. J that you would say was a superstar. Like Kareem, like they're superstar players, not a superstar, as in like there's an aura and a charisma. There's something about what they do and how they do it too, in addition to the game that they play. You feel me?
Yeah.
He is rap's first superstar really in that regard, because what also has to come with that is the attention too. You feel me? And so it's like, no, he is all of those things. He is rap's first real superstar, very much the way Dr. J is the NBA's first real superstar, as in like a guy, they're like, no, 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 that guy. That's the guy I want to be like outside and inside.
So what do you think that LL's missing in that superstar category? Because the only thing between the two of them that I would say is different is just the aura, maybe, but he has that too.
That's a lot, Mike. The aura, the charisma.
LL has. It's different. He has it in a different way. His charismatic nature is catered more to the ladies.
No, it feels classically trained because it is.
Yeah.
Snoop has a natural aura about who Snoop is. With L, it is some training that goes into it. You appreciate it. You respect it. It's not as charismatic as Snoop. It's just not. Because you know that it's trained. And it's okay because hip hop needed that. Like somebody needed to be that for hip hop too. Maybe Snoop doesn't exist if there's not an LL that's classically trained and personable and knows how to do the interview, but also give the interview, you know?
Right. He was definitely ahead of everybody when it came to that. When you look at LL's early interviews, or I don't even want to say the early interviews, let's just say like around the early 90s, when everybody's young and untrained and kind of talking all over the place whenever they're doing interviews. And look at LL. I think the only person that matches that is Ice Cube. Ice Cube gave great interviews as a youth. He was always very...
But I'm pretty certain he was watching LL and Chuck D do interviews.
Yeah. Now Chuck D too. And Chuck D's a little older. But yeah. But
I bet you Ice Cube was watching LL and Chuck D do interviews.
Do you think the West Coast has something to do with, speaking of Chuck D, Public Enemy kind of like, I don't want to say fizzling out because they've always had great records, but after Apocalypse 91, it was like, Do you think the West Coast has something to do with that too?
I think maybe the
I've never thought about these things. I'm just discussing out loud, thinking out loud.
No, I get what you're saying. I think truthfully, I think that's a whole nother conversation that is more dictated by the music business per se than the artist.
Oh, that's more of a Kanye topic.
Right. Like what you're speaking to, I think is more the powers that be are like, oh, hold on. This is what I'm saying about what the West Coast did. It's like, well, you can't tell them that the music's not good. It's like, so yeah, there's a lot of bitches and hoes and gang signs being thrown up. Tell me this shit doesn't ride. And so the powers that be are like, well, we don't need to promote this positive message as much anymore.
Well, you know what? I saw that kind of happen in New York radio, even when Atlanta first kind of took over the airwaves. Like, I remember going up to New York in maybe '04, '05 ish, and I was expecting to hear, like, some rapping on the radio. I'm hearing Lil Jon, Get Low, with Yin Yang Twins and stuff. And I'm like,
You're like, what is
huh,
going on?
okay. Like, but again, I think that those are more so behind the scenes corporate stuff that goes on where, not to say that the hip hop that was going on in the late 90s, early 2000s from New York was super positive, but there was a lot of lyrical skill going on, and it kind of set this standard where if to get on the radio in that era, you basically had to dumb down your lyrics. You know what I mean? Or dumb down your lyrical ability. Let me say that.
Well, if you look at just that around that time, let's like what would you say, 90 to 93?
I'm gonna say, oh, you're talking about 1993? No, I'm talking about the radio thing. What are you talking about for
Oh, hold on,
1993?
You're talking about the modern day radio thing.
Yeah, I'm talking about from, let's just say, 98 when DMX kind of brought the streets back to the radio. Let's just say 98 to '03. We'll end it with 50, right? Because that's when like around 2000, 2001, 2002. Let's look at Ja Rule. Let's use Ja Rule as an example, right? And I say this because Ja Rule was somebody that we knew could get on these hardcore records and catch wreck and do his thing. When you look at how he was able to adjust to what was going to be on the radio, it's very different from what you heard on Vita Vetta Vici to when you heard, Always on Time, Ja Rule.
I get where you're going.
You know what I mean? He's the guy who made the necessary adjustments, but you could see what I'm saying based on what his career did. Because other guys, there were, New York MCs that had their skill level where it was at, couldn't make that adjustment like he was able to do so.
Understood.
Melvin Wright with the super chat says, it's two albums that came and changed rap, the culture, and that's The Chronic and the Bloods and Crips album. I must say something after I read this. Everyone wanted to gangbang and smoke weed. Nobody wanted to hear the message anymore. You know what? It's funny, man. I used to always see in the record store that Bloods and Crips album. I would pick it up, look on the back, and never bought it. But I always used to see it. I'm like, yo, this is wild. I've never heard it. Have you heard that album?
No. I know exactly what you're talking about, too.
Since we're in the streaming era, I might go listen to that shit just to see what everybody's talking about. It was that impactful? Damn. Unknown name with the super chat says, while looking in the notifications from YouTube, bring up super chats. At least 3 of your streams, my super chats wouldn't process. Just a heads up. See, YouTube is messing with us, man.
Hold on. I actually know who that is because that's actually somebody that I know personally that actually told me that and said we need to start looking into that about our tiers and how our tiers are working. He was like, I tried to shoot you guys, a little bit of love. And I was like, oh, I appreciate you. He's like, no, it wouldn't let me. He's like, you need to check your tiers, Coop.
Man, that's crazy. Okay, yeah. That's on the list. Do you want to go ahead and start talking about this West Side Gun album, 10?
Yeah.
Niggas are saying the Bloods and Crips album is fire. I'm going to listen to that. I'm telling you, as a kid, I always wanted to pick it up. I used to pick it up at the store and be like, yeah, my parents is never going to buy this for me.
Bloods and Crips album. Wow.
Yeah, somebody said the Willie the Kid is fire. Yeah, the Willie
I'm
the Kid.
I'm in a different place. I only listen to rap really about this show. You want to know the truth? I listen to rap about this show. I got to be in a mood.
Mm-hmm. What are you listening to on the normal, like Sade or something when you chilling out?
Yeah, Mike. I mean, I like some of the new stuff. Like, what's her name? I don't even know how to say her name right. The one that does When I'm in Your Arms and all that. Snow.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah, like all that. You know, I mean, I stay with the old school stuff, but you know, I mean, like we're in our 40s now. It's like I'm not like running down the street playing the Chronic like every day like I used to in my 20s, or it's not like I don't feel the need to like play Illmatic every Friday like I used to sometimes. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, no, I'm in a different place. A lot of
I
it is
hear
about the
that.
work.
Jay Short said the Bloods and Crips CD was hood platinum
Here
out
we
here.
go. Here we
Oh
go.
man, I gotta listen to this, man. But